Am I the butthole for threatening my brother with a restraining order if he went anywhere near my niece? I, 32 male, have been the sole guardian of my niece, so, 13 female, for most of her life. Her parents, my sister and brother-in-law, both died within a few days of each other when she was a few months old, so I'm the only parent she knows. I have a half-brother, laughing out loud, 33 male, who started living with us when I was 7. My dad made it super clear which of us he liked better, and despite his troublemaking tendencies, both my father and sister were very lenient to him. Here's why I don't think I'm the butthole. Laughing out loud is partially responsible for so being orphaned. I won't go into any details, but it was a drunk driving incident. Laughing out loud made it out. Brother-in-law died on impact and my sister a few days afterwards. LOL was indicted, and I don't know how he did it, but my dad got him out. Laughing out loud then disappeared for over 10 years. He only showed up a few months ago, completely sober and with a family of his own. The first thing he did when he got back was ask to see So. I told him no. Huge said he understood, and that he promised not to contact So until I allowed it. Except about a week ago I found out he's been constantly coming to see her at school. His wife is a teacher. Worst thing is, So doesn't know who Laughing Out Loud actually is. She just think he's a favorite teacher's husband. When I found out, I tore him a new one, and threatened to report him to the police and place a restraining order on him. He doesn't deserve to know her after what he did. After he caused me to be a parent at 19, my dad wasn't granted legal custody of So because he had previously been reported for child neglect when I was 16. I applied for emancipation that same year. Brother-in-law's side of the family is extremely wealthy but also awful to the core, so I fought for custody of So. Why I might be the butthole? It was no secret my sister favored LOL. Laughing Out Loud was the charming one, while I was always hiding behind a book. She was the only one who stayed when he was drinking and using underage. She would forgive him for literally everything. She would have wanted him to know her daughter. So was also upset with me because I banned her from talking to Laughing Out Loud, as well as filed a petition to get her moved to a different class. The only way I can convince her is by telling her who Laughing Out Loud really is, but how do I do that to her? Not the butthole. You should really report your brother's wife. She is a teacher who went behind parents' back and let a child in her care meet a grown man who she knew was not allowed to see the child. That is a massive deal and the school needs to know about it. I was looking for this comment to upvote. Original poster, please report the wife. This is a huge betrayal of trust, and who know what else she may allow to happen. Getting this woman fired would have been the first thing I did, to be honest. And original poster shouldn't explain it as my brother wants to see niece, because that makes it sound like it's just a family thing. She has to say a teacher facilitated meetings between a minor and a grown man stranger on school property, so they take it seriously and maybe get the word out to the PTA, because that women gossip about everything so everyone can know about the teacher. The grown man who killed her parents in a drunk driving accident. And specify they did not want and had not allowed the grown man to see the child. Someone they are now pursuing a restraining order against. This. The teacher doesn't get to be upset about original poster when she herself facilitated the meeting of the child and a man that the legal guardian definitely not want the child to meet. Damn, when it's worded the second way, it really opens your eyes, well, my eyes anyways. I don't think I realized how truly drastic the situation was until I saw it in that context. Not the butthole. Is your niece not aware of how her parents died? If she is aware of the accident and that her uncle caused it, then I'd simply tell her that he's back in town and ask how she feels about it and if she wants anything to do with him. I do strongly agree with others that you need to report the teacher and your brother to the principal. Personally, I wouldn't have allowed the wife to be one of her teachers for fear she'd attempt to encourage contact with the uncle. Also, first of all, his wife is hella weird for bringing in her husband, but does she even know what he did? Like, maybe she doesn't even know. Even if all he told her was, hey, that's my niece in your class, can I talk to her? She should still have contacted son's parent before allowing it. Speaking as a teacher, I absolutely second this. And regardless, a teacher's husband visiting the school so often just feels weird to me. Is he background checked? Is he being supervised, or does he just wander around? Most schools don't want people on site who have no actual reason to be there. I would see it as a serious safeguarding risk. It doesn't feel too weird to me, but I had a teacher whose husband came not regularly, but on occasion. Oh. Except for when he and my teacher taught us anything you can do for the class to sing when we did a talent show. I'm a teacher and my team's partners or family drop into our kindergarten occasionally to bring us, but we've forgotten, but they are purely there for us, not with ulterior motives towards our students. I don't think it's unusual for teachers to introduce their family to their class, but this is unprofessional and a massive overstep when she is trying to shortcut original poster's request and get her husband in with her niece. Shady as behavior. My son's wife is a first-grade school teacher and my son never goes to see her in class. If he wanted to, it requires school board permission after fingerprinting and background checks. That's a kindergarten class though. It's normal to need more help with younger students. Op's niece is 13. I teach 7th grade. My class meeting my family would be so weird. I could see it happen if there is a quick emergency and their partner has to drop something off quickly. But I can't imagine a teacher's family meander or spice just stopping by on the regular and just chilling with their students. When I was in high school, I never met any of the teachers' spouses unless they also worked at the school. How does that even work? Hello class, before we start today, meet my husband. My chorus teacher's husband did a line in a TV theme song medley we performed. None of the students wanted to be Mr. Ed, but he was thrilled and nailed the voice. But other than that, we only saw him at concerts where he would cheer for and support his wife. Yeah, this is weird. I'm a teacher and the only time my husband met my students was at the school fair. My dad was the principal and my mom was the librarian of my elementary school until she transferred when I was in 5th grade. I basically lived at my elementary school and knew all of the teachers very well. The only spouses I really knew were a married couple who were both teachers. If I did know the teachers' spouses, it was from outside the school. It may be different in other places, but I think that the fact that a child who was at the school more often than the teachers were and was in close contact with them barely encountered any spouses says something about how weird this is. Looking back, that is the only type of scenario where as a student I had ever even seen or met a teacher's spouse/partner/. And even then we knew it because they had a kid in class or maybe had the same last name, but never because they were touted around by the teacher as their spouse on a regular school day for no real purpose or reason. If there was ever a time there was a reason, like show and tell, and the spouse was a firefighter or a school fair or something. An unvetted adult just hanging out at school just never happened, and this was in the 80s and 90s where there were basically no rules. My partner is a band teacher and I'm around a lot. But that's because I do a ton of volunteering for the Music Booster Club and work at all the big scholastic music festivals and stuff. But I'm also background checked by the district. So, not similar scenarios at all then. Agreed. I just don't think it's always weird for students to know their teachers' spouses is all. This situation is weird as hell though. Not only that, but if she's contacted the school then it's a FERPA violation if she's in the US. My wife teaches, and I used to teach. I've only met her students on a couple of occasions when I was directly helping her out with something. We teach the same content area, and I was there for business. Same with her and my students. It's just not a thing that happens in most normal circumstances, which is why this should throw up red flags for the school administration. I didn't even think about this aspect of it. She totally abused her power. Exactly. And even if she didn't know he was banned from contact, surely she knew he wasn't an authorized person. As a teacher, we take whom the children can meet so seriously. We have lists of who is approved to so much as call the school, much less speak to students. Unacceptable. As it should be. I once picked up the kid from a friend from kindergarten. My friend had to personally confirm that I was picking them up and they controlled and even made a copy of my driver's license. Even if you don't do anything about this exactly, you need to call the school and put laughing out loud on a cannot contact child list. They need to be made aware of the fact that you do not want him near her. At 13, I do think she's capable of knowing and hearing the truth of who he is. You're not the bad guy in this story at all, but if she doesn't know what's going on, it'll be easier for laughing out loud to get her on his side and convince her to leave school with him one day. Not saying this will happen, but cover your bases. There's just some details here that pose questions for me. Like, did original poster know sister-in-law was a teacher at the school and apparently one of his niece's own teachers? Or was this not disclosed? Are students typically put in classes where the teacher is family? I understand in smaller schools this can be unavoidable, but shouldn't it be disclosed for obvious reasons? If it wasn't disclosed, wouldn't some faculty think it's odd when niece suddenly learns her teacher is family? If it was disclosed, does faculty not think it's odd that niece does not know her teacher is her aunt? On top of reporting sister-in-law for her behavior, I think it may also be wise to involve a therapist for niece at this point. She's very young to have two adults she looks up to deceive her in such a way. I would imagine she is going to feel incredibly conflicted and have problems processing. I would imagine it would be very challenging for her to understand that her feelings of liking these two adults are valid, but also her feelings of being deceived are valid, and she should trust those feelings. I think I would get the therapist ASAP because this could be messy. A therapist can also advocate should anything go south with this. Is she even allowed to teach the niece of her husband? I guess it depends on school rules. At least where I live, it's generally allowed to teach relatives or even your own children if you are a teacher. It would probably be different if said student had a restraining order against her husband. I mean, depending on what she teaches, there may not be other options. If she's the only teacher of a subject for that grade level, there's not much way around it. What I find weird is that bro just happens to be married to a teacher at her school. Not the butthole, and this is exactly right. Go to the school about this immediately. I think it was fine to work your way to getting them to meet, but it needed to be on your time and your terms, not laughing out loud and his wife. Yes. Teacher here. This is a huge safeguarding issue. All teachers know that this is a big no-no. For a start, I doubt your brother-in-law will have had the proper checks carried out on him like your sister has for her job. Anyone who goes into a school must have these checks done, even down to cleaners, IT people, governors, everyone. Your brother-in-law is unlikely to have had the checks. The school would have queried why a teacher was getting her husband checked, therefore should not be around any of the pupils in the school. 1,000 times this. I am a teacher, and the solidarity I hold for and with my fellow teachers is sacred, second only to that of my family. But our kids' welfare comes first. This woman is a shameful representative of our profession. And frankly, brother-in-law might be sober, but he isn't acting at all in accordance with someone working a good program. I am in recovery and there are plenty of people I would like to contact to make amends, but they want nothing to do with me. That's okay. The best thing I can do in that case is work my program and hope my actions and continued sobriety eventually make them open to talking. It would be incredibly wrong for me to do otherwise. Completely not the butthole. Not the butthole, and what his wife did was unacceptable. This is what I came here to say. My wife is a teacher, and if she needs me to bring her something, I come during her breaks and she comes to me. He's using his wife to get to your daughter. Definitely tell the school. I wonder if her teacher is her fave because her teacher knows exactly who she is and maybe treats her differently. This could be another way to get your daughter on their side. Not the butthole. He went behind your back to potentially harm your niece. That's awful, and if it happens again, I would definitely ask for a restraining order or something. I don't really know how those work, but I would think these counts as stalking. Also, I recommend telling niece everything. She's old enough to know, and telling her your concerns about her interacting with this person will give her 100% clarity, so she won't be so against this process. Any child would be upset when something they consider an obnoxious rule is set with no explanation why. Let her know that even though not biologically your child, you love her, she will always be your daughter, and you just want to protect her from someone you think wants to do her harm. Edit. This is my first comment to even breach 100 upvotes, much less 3K. So thanks everyone, also thanks for the award, stranger. This. Also, super inappropriate of her teacher/B's wife not to disclose the relationship. Clearly he hasn't changed that much, because if he had, he would have respected your wishes instead of going behind your back. And he's making things more complicated for so, because when she does find out he's responsible for the death of her parents, she's already gotten to know him and likes him. It's likely to bring about some very conflicting feelings for her. Laughing out loud may be wanting to soothe his conscience, but he's making things worse. Exactly. None of what laughing out loud is doing is for so. This is all for him to feel better and like he's made amends. F him. Yeah, so could end up needing to get some therapy over this situation. I am 100% Sure, that was the plan. Have her get to know him, like him first, and then spring it on her when there is already a relationship. What a manipulative butthole he is. She may need to know just to keep herself safe if he reaches out again. She should know the risk he may pose so she can be appropriately cautious. I would recommend getting advice from an appropriate therapist/counselor for the conversation. Your niece is in a very vulnerable position right now, and while you're not the butthole, your decision will impact her significantly, especially at her age. Keeping her away from her favorite teacher without reason will only result in resentment. You may have to check your own emotional ties to the entire situation, which is the hardest thing in the world, due to your feelings of possible jealousy/resentment towards your family. There used to be this idea that we need to protect children by not telling them things, but a lot of psychology has gone into showing that not telling children about their past actually really harms them. I'm not sure how much original Poster has shared with his niece, but I really hope that the only thing she's unaware of right now is that the random man visiting her is her half-uncle, whose role she already knows of. I had a friend who was not informed that they were adopted until they were 18, and even though it was her cousins who adopted her, she was never able to accept that they had lied to her entire life. And they had done this in the 90s. I thought people had figured out how damaging that was by then. Not the butthole because doing what's best for the child trumps the wishes of a dead person. I agree, not the butthole. However, niece is 13 and she needs to know the truth. Not only to deepen the trust between original Poster and his niece, but also to allow her to make her own decision. She may not want to speak to Laughing Out Loud now or ever, but at least original Poster won't be responsible of hiding anything to her. 13 is young but old enough to hear this. Original Poster just needs to find the right words and to tell her he supports her and loves her no matter what. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.